President-elect Joe Biden joined civil rights groups in criticizing the response to predominantly white rioters at the Capitol yesterday, saying it shows a double standard when compared to the treatment of Black Lives Matter protesters this summer.
But what is the root of this conversation? Experts tell our Sophia Millar the answer lies in understanding white privilege.
NAACP President Jim Thurman says when he watched the shocking footage of rioters storming the Capitol building, he thought of the heavily guarded Black Lives Matter protests that took place over the summer.
Had that been, again, a peaceful protest of Black Lives Matter, the National Guard would have already been there. State troopers would have already been there. The Capitol Police would have been armed. SWAT teams would have been there, and none of that would have transpired.
Thurman isn't alone in his thoughts.
No one can tell me that if had been a group of Black Lives Matter protesting yesterday, they wouldn't have been treated very, very differently than the mob of thugs that stormed the Capitol.
Cheryl Matias, an expert on race relations, says the overwhelmingly white rioters at the Capitol were met with passive resistance from law enforcement in videos like this one, while Black Lives Matter's demonstrations were met with officers dressed in riot gear, can be boiled down to a few words.
This is not my opinion. I have a PhD in education. My diagnosis is this is about race. This is about white privilege.
What is white privilege?
So white privilege are the privileges, the access, and the opportunities that were given to people who are of white skin, regardless to whether they wanted it or not.
Thurman says while some will argue that the protest was about election fraud, the reality is rioters were emboldened to violently siege the Capitol because that sense of privilege allowed them to do so. And he's calling on Americans to acknowledge it.
There's no way to put this genie back in the bottle. The cork has been popped, the genie has been let out of the bottle, and it's going to run rampant for a while.
Matias agrees with Thurman, saying the United States can only begin moving forward from this dark day in history by recognizing the themes of racism that opened the doors for the violent riot to take place in Washington, D.C. Sophia Millar, LEX 18 News.